Now, the latest from ITV News Meridian in the south.
Good evening, welcome to ITV News Meridian.
Tonight's headlines here in the south. The stakes couldn't be higher. David Cameron's message to hundreds of workers in Eastleigh, a month to go until the referendum vote.
This could be, for the first time in history, a recession brought on ourselves. As I stand here in B&Q, it would be a DIY recession.
Hitting back, the boxer put in a coma by Chris Eubank Jr. launches a bitter war of words with him and his famous dad over what came next.
Approach at your peril. Coast Guards issue an urgent warning to sightseers after a major cliff fall on the Isle of Wight.
And where everything in the garden is lovely, we have a special preview of the prestigious Chelsea Flower Show. Good evening to you. Welcome. 1 month to go now to the referendum, and the Prime Minister was in Hampshire today, warning that leaving the EU would lead to a recession. Not just that, everyone would be worse off.
Accompanied by the Chancellor, he gave a very stark warning about what Brexit would mean for people in our region, claiming that in the south, more than 100,000 jobs would be lost.
Mr Cameron was on a visit to the DIY giant B&Q's headquarters in Eastleigh, home to 1,600 workers. His opponents, though, said his comments were scaremongering, and they say the figures are made up and totally unreliable. Our political correspondent Phil Hornby has more.
It was perhaps a long way to come to make a joke. Leaving the EU would cause terrible damage to the economy, he said, and it would be self-inflicted.
As I stand here in B&Q, it would be a DIY recession.
The economy's doing well, he said. Don't put it at risk.
Leave Europe and put at risk what we've achieved. Stay in Europe and stay on the right track.
Q a B&Q HQ, EU Q&A.
Let's start with Phil from the regional ITV.
You said, why put the recovery at risk? That's what you said to the people here. They'd be entitled to say, well, it's not us doing it, it's you doing it. Isn't this proof that it's one of the most irresponsible thing a Prime Minister's ever done to hold a referendum like this? Or maybe you don't really believe what you're saying?
No, I absolutely think that if we vote to leave, it will have these severe economic consequences. In terms of holding the referendum, it is a pledge and a promise that I made.
This town nearly voted in Britain's first UKIP MP at the by-election here 3.5 years ago, so Mr Cameron knew he had some convincing to do.
The Prime Minister's been here today, launching this, which he says tells us that if we leave the EU, there'll be a terribly big recession.
I don't believe a word he says.
Do you believe him?
No, not at all.
I'm not sure. I don't know. Sorry.
You're a don't know. You're exactly the sort of person David Cameron wants to convince. What have politicians got to do to make you make up your mind one way or the other?
Just give us more facts, to be honest.
We're not strong enough to be by ourselves. We're fooling ourselves if we are. I don't like David Cameron and I don't like George Osborne, but I don't think that they're lying on this.
I mean, this is just ridiculous, and I really hope that George Osborne doesn't believe his own figures, because that will cast serious doubt on his credibility to remain as the Chancellor. This is wild speculation. It's worst case scenario beyond worst case scenario. And remember, the government set up the Office of Budget Responsibility because, as George Osborne himself said, you cannot trust the credibility of Treasury forecasts.
Mr Cameron likes coming here. He visited during the 2013 by-election, which the Tories lost. This time, he's staking everything on victory. 4 weeks on Thursday. Phil Hornby, ITV News.
Well, Phil joins us in the studio now. Phil, the Prime Minister seems pretty convinced that the economy is going to win it for his side.
That's right. I don't know how many of our viewers are going to get their way through the HM Treasury analysis. Good luck to anyone who tries with all its graphs and its tables and its notes. But the fact that they issued this today, that Mr Cameron came with his message, shows that he thinks this is a vote winner for him. Now, the Leave side, of course, think they're ahead on things like immigration and sovereignty. But politicians will tell you that general elections are usually won on the economy. And we'll find out on June the 23rd whether the same goes for referendums.
Any more big names coming to our region?
There will be lots, Fred. Westminster, I can tell you, is closing down a bit. MPs aren't going to be doing very much for the next few weeks. You might say no change there. Not at Westminster. They're going to be out and about on the campaign trail. Things are really going to be hotting up.
You enjoying it?
I am, yeah. I don't know what's going to happen, which is great.
No one knows. Phil, thanks very much, as always.
And that story and the rest of the day's news can be found on our website, itv.com/Meridian. The boxer Nick Blackwell has criticised Chris Eubank Jr. from Brighton and his father for giving a news conference while he was still in a coma. The 25-year-old suffered swelling to the brain following a fight with Eubank Jr. back in March.
Blackwell says his family begged them not to talk to the media while he was in hospital. With more now, Malcolm Shaw.
I couldn't actually remember anything about the fight.
This is the first time Nick Blackwell has spoken publicly about the fight which so nearly killed him. The 25-year-old suffered swelling on the brain during his bout with Chris Eubank Jr. 2 months ago. Nick says only the emergency treatment he received kept him alive.
Dr. Sonny, you know, I want to say thanks because he saved my life. Got me into the ambulance, induced me into a coma within 13.5 minutes from being in the ring. When I passed out into the ambulance, and yeah, I flatlined, so I died for a little while, and he got injected adrenaline into my heart, you know, and I started breathing again.
3 days later, while Nick lay unconscious in hospital, the Eubanks held a news conference.
No celebration by my family, Team Eubank, has happened and will not happen until Nick makes a full recovery.
The Eubanks say they were under intense pressure to speak to the media, and doing nothing would have appeared cold. But Nick Blackwell disagrees.
I was just a little bit disappointed because I always see it, if Eubank was in that situation and he was in the coma, I would want to go and see Eubank. I wouldn't have. And the whole thing with they wanted to do a press conference. My family were begging them not to do it, and they still went ahead and done it.
I'm surprised at that. He's walked in and he's now.
25 years ago, Michael Watson was left in a coma after a fight with Chris Eubank Sr. caused a blood clot on his brain. During his son's fight, Eubank Sr. was overheard warning him not to target any more punches to Nick Blackwell's head.
But you're not going to take him out to the face, you're going to take him out to the body.
Anyone in boxing knows it's more of a tactical thing. You know, it's more of a tactical thing. He couldn't stop me to the head, so he wanted to hit me into the body to try and get rid of me, you know. Because in boxing, you're in there to try and get rid of me.
So you don't think it was done from any sense of your well-being?
No, I don't know. You know, no.
The Eubanks say all they've ever wanted has been the best for Nick Blackwell. He has made a remarkable recovery, but his injuries were enough to end his boxing career. Malcolm Shaw, ITV News.
In other news, work is almost complete on the huge centre to support the Royal Navy's new Queen Elizabeth aircraft carriers in Portsmouth. The centre covers an area the size of 10 football pitches. Workers have been strengthening the old jetty, building a new power station and creating space for hundreds of staff.
These ships are going to be huge, and therefore the infrastructure that we've had for a 20th century Royal Navy is no longer fit for purpose.
Why do we need them?
The carriers are going to be our main piece as United Kingdom to provide influence globally.
This is a fantastic project, but it's not just about the £100 million that we're investing in the infrastructure here in Portsmouth, but also it's the way that we are changing the way that the modern Portsmouth dockyard will be working into the future.
Now, these pictures of the Flying Scotsman are especially for the dozens of people who waited patiently in the rain at Dunbridge at the weekend to see the historic locomotive. They'd established themselves at the best vantage point on the station platform, only to have their view totally blocked when the Portsmouth-Salisbury train stopped right in front of them. At the very moment, the Scotsman thundered through.
Oh dear, what a shame. You're watching ITV News here in the Meridian region. Thanks for choosing us. Coming up.
Ruling the waves, the yachtsman setting course for an Olympic gold at Rio.
As always, for more on all of our stories, do head to itv.com/Meridian. Any views or news, do please give us a call. 0808 10 10 095 is the number to ring, or you can get in touch via Facebook. Or, if you prefer, why not send us a tweet at ITV Meridian.
Now, people are being warned to stay away from the site of a huge landslide on the Isle of Wight. Hundreds of tons of rock collapsed onto the beach near Sandown yesterday morning. It sparked a full-scale search for 3 people thought to be trapped.
Well, they were later found safe and well, but today Coast Guards are warning the cliff is still very unstable and more falls are likely. This from Dave Russell.
It was a cliff fall that could so easily have led to tragedy on this popular Isle of Wight beach. Initial reports suggested 3 people were trapped, which proved to be false and all were accounted for. Yaverland's very popular amongst dog walkers and tourists alike, but while locals are aware of the dangers, some visitors aren't.
It's always moving here, so I suppose the issue is, for anybody who doesn't know it, perhaps they might not think that it might fall, but most regular people know that it moves and wouldn't stand underneath it.
We was walking along the beach and there was a group of children and they teach us sitting under the red cliffs, and we had to go up and tell them not to sit under the cliffs because of the risk of a landfall.
We love to come on this beach with Bella, and we was well aware the other day that there was something hanging, because we both said, oh, I think something's going to happen there, and now you're saying we didn't come on yesterday.
A single sign warning of potential cliff falls is displayed, but its location isn't ideal as people can miss it if using the steps down to the beach.
We're not closing the beach because we're still monitoring it. We may need to look at the signage in the area to see whether we can improve that, but also we need to engage with the public and residents and schools who are bringing children here to see whether they can understand what the problems are here and not take risks.
Although it's set to remain open, beach users are being advised to remain vigilant to any signs of cliff movement. Dave Russell, ITV News on the Isle of Wight.
Time now for a look at what's making the national news headlines this evening with the details. Here's Mark Austin.
Coming up, new warnings that quitting the EU could tip Britain back into recession. The Prime Minister and the Chancellor say the Treasury predicts that Brexit could cost more than 800,000 jobs. Boris Johnson says it's just more propaganda. The restaurant owner jailed for 6 years for manslaughter after a customer died from a peanut allergy. And Mourinho on the move. Jose prepares to head north after Van Gaal is sacked by Manchester United. Join Mary Nightingale and me at 6:30.
We will. It's the horticultural highlight of the year, attracting thousands of visitors and exhibitors from across the globe.
And the Chelsea Flower Show judges are tonight making up their mind who wins gold, silver or bronze. Our correspondent David Wood has been for a look around.
For those here just looking, Chelsea is all about the plants. But for the designers, they want gold, with everyone trying to stand out. Among them is Juliet Sargent from Brighton. She's designed a garden raising awareness about modern slavery.
It's the idea that slavery is hidden behind closed doors these days.
How confident are you about tomorrow's judging?
Well, I have to say I've been so busy doing the garden that I haven't really thought that much about the judging. I am delighted with the garden.
Chelsea is arguably the world's most influential and famous flower show, and the Sun has even encouraged the odd celebrity out to have a look around. And although Chelsea is all about the very best of the gardening world showing off what they can do, the organisers of this whole event don't think enough of us are doing gardening in our own homes. They say just 10% of us want plants in our front gardens, and that's simply not enough. The experts say it's much easier to achieve than many people think.
You don't have to give up the garden at the front because you've got a car and wheelie bins. So it's getting people to realise they can have both without being a slave to it. That's what's important.
And what would your one tip be, Mary?
I'm not an expert, but I would certainly always have leave space for my pot plants.
But for a change at Chelsea, a garden with no natural flowers is the one grabbing everyone's attention. What started off with 2 designers in Australia knitting 120 poppies has now grown to more than 300,000 sent from all over the world.
It's stunning in its own right, but to be able to have the privilege of having it in this backdrop is the thing that really, really, really makes it stand out for us. We're thrilled to be here, aren't we?
How much of a headache was it as the amount were turning up that you were thinking, God, how big is this going to be in the end?
It was gently challenging.
Although as these poppies are woolen, they can't win any of Chelsea's coveted prizes, whereas the rest of the designers have a nervous night waiting to see if they've won gold. David Wood, ITV News.
Wonderful. Let's now continue the medal-winning theme, hopefully, with Sarah Gone. Sarah.
Yes, hopefully, Fred. Thank you. Giles Scott is one of Team GB's best bets for gold at Rio, despite never before having been to an Olympic Games. The 28-year-old sailor from Weymouth will compete in the Finn class, following in Sir Ben Ainsley's footsteps. And it's Ainsley who has tipped him for gold after his dominance prevented Scott from achieving his Olympic dream in 2012. Sally Simmons reports.
ITV Meridian Sport Report, sponsored by WeWantAnyCar.com, the Cash for Cars website.
3 world titles, victory in almost every major sailing regatta for the last 5 years. No wonder Giles Scott is favourite for Rio. His first Olympic Games has been a long time coming. While Sir Ben Ainsley was racing a Finn, Scott couldn't get a look in.
You know, it would have been nice to have started 4 years ago, but that wasn't to be. So I've served a very long extended apprenticeship.
In 2012, some said Scott had the better form, but hindsight says the selectors made the right choice, choosing Ainsley, who made history with his 4th successive gold.
It's pointless to be bitter about it. It is what it is, and I wasn't, ultimately I wasn't where I needed to be 4 years ago.
Competing in a major regatta in Palma, Scott says his long apprenticeship under Ainsley taught him exactly what 100% commitment really is.
It's a will to kind of do everything that you possibly can. Everyone says that they're working as hard as they can, but the truth is certainly a bit different. It certainly was for me.
The respect is clearly mutual. Ainsley signed up Scott as tactician for his America's Cup bid with Land Rover BAR and gave him the credit when they won the World Series event in Oman in February. Scott's time has finally come, and just like Ainsley, nothing short of gold will suffice. Sally Simmons, ITV News, Palma, Mallorca.
And while we're looking ahead to Rio, congratulations to Isle of Wight runner Jess Andrews, who's qualified for the 10,000 metres after smashing her personal best by 83 seconds. Football now, and Oxford United have confirmed which players they hope will accept new contracts and those who will be released ahead of next season in League One. Among those offered new contracts at Michael Appleton's newly promoted side are strikers Danny Hilton and Chris Maguire, while those released include Johnny Mullins and Jordan Bowery. Southampton pair Ryan Bertrand and Fraser Forster were both unused subs at the Etihad last night, where England beat Turkey 2-1 in their Euro 2016 warm-up match. Goals from Harry Kane and Jamie Vardy secured Roy Hodgson's side the win. And in cricket, Hampshire captain James Vince has hailed the past week as one he will never forget after making his Test debut for England in their 3-day victory over Sri Lanka. Vince and England now move on to the next test, which begins on Friday at Durham. Might not be so easy, but we can hope.
You can indeed. Thank you very much, sir. Lovely.
Now, it's a show which gives people of all talents a platform to perform, and tonight millions of us will tune in for the second Britain's Got Talent semi-final 2016. Among those taking to the stage, a husband and wife duo, Ian and Anne Marshall.
Yes, the couple who met in Aldershot while both members of the army are doing all they can to make the grand final on Saturday night. With more now, our reporter, Matt Price.
Yes, we're backstage at Britain's Got Talent ahead of the second live semi-final on ITV in just over an hour's time, and you can feel the tension back here as rehearsals take place ahead of that show. And gosh, are the performers putting in the practice hours of rehearsals to get to this stage today. And one of those taking part is Ian and Anne Marshall, the singing act. Guys, firstly, well done for getting this far. You must be really pleased.
Oh, we're really chuffed. We really are. We couldn't be happier. Obviously, we want to get through this one too, you know. It's going to be hard work, some good acting there tonight.
What does it mean to be out on that stage? Because it is a big stage. Is it quite intimidating?
No, it's actually really nice. It's good.
Brilliant stuff. Well, of course, we know you're from, well, you met at least in Aldershot. Your act is all about you two kind of performing together on a stage. Yeah. Take me back there. How did you meet? Who popped the question?
Quick, I'll just try and keep it as quick as I can. We were I met in Aldershot. I was on a course. I was in the ACC, and Anne was a clerk to a general. And I met her on the Wednesday, and I married her the following Saturday. Because I was leaving, I was on the course was finishing.
He don't waste any time, does he?
No.
No. Well, I proposed on the Thursday. Yeah, over this little tattoo. If you want to see that, I had this tattoo done. In Bill Scoose's place in Aldershot. It was a tattoo parlour.
You've got a memory for life. Well, let's go back to tonight. And what can we expect from you? The same kind of thing, or something a bit more special?
We're doing something tonight, right? That you remember the last song? How it was different, but the same, sort of thing. What we're doing is we took an old song, a new song, and give it the same kind of twist.
I'm looking forward to it. And Anne, what would it mean to win?
It would mean, and I can't even say what it would mean. It would mean that our lives for our children would completely change.
Yeah.
Because that's what we would win for them.
Well, all of us at ITV Meridian wish you the very best of luck. Of course, the live semi-final on ITV at 7:30 tonight. But these guys are hoping to make the final on Saturday. And what a prize that would be to win, the 10th winner of Britain's Got Talent. But more importantly, some might say, to perform at the Royal Variety Show a little bit later this year.
Do you think they'll do it?
Yes, of course they'll do it. They're from Aldershot.
Of course. Now here with more talent is Simon.
Hang on, can I just say, do you want to put a bet on that?
No.
Oh, okay, fair enough. I'm going to bring together two of the big subjects that we've covered on tonight's programme. Firstly, talent.
Yes.
And secondly, Chelsea Flower Show.
Good.
Do you know some of our animals have got the talent to be top gardeners?
No.
Here is the photographic evidence. Wow. Firstly, you've got Steve in Heathfield's dog there. That's Fry. Big fan of rhododendrons. Yes. As you can see. Admiring his blooms there. And Andrew Cook's dog Ernie is enjoying playing hide and seek in amongst the poppies in his garden in Parkgate. You can just see him in the background there.
Okay, yes.
Roy in Basingstoke's dog Barney here is enjoying the thrift, or sea pink as it's also known, on Chesil Beach. And garlic and chocolate mightn't be the best combination, but it works a treat, look, if it's chocolate Labradors in the wild garlic. That's the Ives family's dogs in Funtington. And Tom Lee in Sussex got a grow your own cat kit. Hey. Not to be confused with the grow your own Kit Kat. That's something completely different. Very pleased with the results so far. And finally from Linda Stanley in Dorset, that's a squirrel. And I can't tell if it's sniffing or eating the buttercup, but either way, I'm thinking he quite likes it.
Do you like Britain's Got Talent?
I do like Britain's Got Talent, yeah.
He's got talent, and if you don't believe me, look at this. Simon Perky Parkin.
From blizzards to pool, driving through Europe, Eurotunnel the Shuttle sponsors ITV Meridian weather.
Well, did you get caught under a downpour today? Still a few of those knocking around this evening, but a lot of dry and fine weather today as well. And it's going to stay relatively settled over the next few days. We've got high pressure moving in. The only slight downside is that because of the position of that high, we're going to pick up a cool northeasterly flow. So temperatures are going to be a bit disappointing. Middle of the week, we're looking at highs of around 14 or 15. That's below where we should be for this time of year. So back to this evening, still a few showers around. Could be heavy, could even be thundery over the next couple of hours. But by around 8 o'clock, we should be dry pretty much everywhere. Clear spells through the night, and in some rural spots, well, temperatures will dip down to around 5 or 6 degrees. So it might be a bit nippy first thing tomorrow morning, but the sunshine is going to lift those temperatures. There will be cloud around, but there'll be some sunny spells, and it should be a largely dry and fine day. It's just towards the west where you might catch an odd shower, but for most of us, it is going to stay dry. Temperatures 16, 61 in Fahrenheit, no great shakes, but if you are outside, well, with light winds, shouldn't feel too bad. As for your high tide times, you can see in Poole Harbour, 25 past 11 in the morning, 20 past 11 in the evening, and then another fine day on Wednesday, again with some sunshine.
Eurotunnel the Shuttle sponsors ITV Meridian weather. Keeping a close eye on summer. The Pollen Count, sponsored by Ilogy Eye Drops.
Well, the grass season is just beginning to get going, so pollen-wise, tree and grass levels tomorrow with a lot of fine weather will be moderate. But over the next few days, any showers, we'll see them drop to low.
Now in just a moment, the ITV Evening News with Mark Austin and Mary Nightingale.
Stacey Poole's got our late news, well worth a watch. For now, though, from the team here at ITV Meridian, thank you very much for watching. Take care of yourselves and join us again very soon. Till then, from all of us here,
Good
bye-bye.
night.